Apologize for a delay. We open our roundtable. We'll speak about artificial intelligence as a new reality for the creative industry. We'll speak about the market potential and the difficulties for creators. I guess everyone nowadays speaks about artificial intelligence. Some some like that, some are very cautious about this, but we all think what is me in the future competition with AI. We will speak about everything. We will speak who or what is artificial intelligence, how it is realized, how it is implemented, what is artificial intelligence in applied spheres of economy, and to what extent it is a helper in the creative activities of human beings, or it is human beings' competitor, and what is expected from artificial intelligence. So we have a very interesting topic today, and we shall start with one of the most subjective sphere in this field, the sphere of movies. I give the floor to Felix Krivosheyev, producer of one of the first films in the format 36 degrees. Please, Felix, tell us what should we expect in this segment. Good afternoon, colleagues. As the methods of analysis in the movies of artificial intelligence does not exist yet, I should say that it consists of three parts. First of all, when a new technology appears, there are no rules, there are no its peculiarities. I actually came across this half a year ago when I made a movie in this format, video 360 degrees. I knew some peculiarities of that aspect, but some things, some rules, I learned only when I watched this film and finished it. Just one example. I realized that 360 format films should be very simple in their plot. It's explained very simply. The films and videos we are used to, we watch it in one dimension. And in 360 format, we have 6 dimensions like this, and the human brain is not capable of processing what it sees. So, and a person cannot realize or comprehend what he sees. If there is a person who wants to do something and then he does something, so a viewer cannot comprehend it all. So the action should happen here and now. There is one genre. Everyone understands what I'm talking about. Let's get from my intelligence to the artificial intelligence. Of course, it's not Goethe's works, but it's also very interesting. First of all, it presents in technical sphere. This is visualization, change of the appearance of actors, change of their voices, and creation of new images. I can't say that everything is very smoothly here in terms of our human ethics. We have to understand that yet, at least, artificial intelligence is not the objective, but this is the means that a human being uses. And on a human being, it depends how it works and how it is perceived. I guess you heard a story that in 2013 there was a advertisement campaign where Mr. Herber advertised chocolate. And she died in 1993. And her image was created by artificial intelligence. Actually, I had some moral questions about this, whether we should raise from the dead the actress who advertised something. Thanks it were chocolate, but not some underwear. I think that such things will appear in the future more often and often. Next, the second big sphere where artificial intelligence will be applied for sure, this is economic field. When I start a year with my students, in the first class I always ask the one question: what is the most important word or notion in movies without which cinematography cannot exist? And I would ask this question to you. Just answer to this question in yourself. I can think that the answers would be talent, acting, genre, directing, and some things like that. Having heard all this, I always say, no, that's not true. Then I pause, and then I say, the main word in the movies is money. So I'm not going to go into detail in this topic. I just want to say that movies is the same business as many others, as production of automobiles, production of raw materials, etc. Of course, there is a segment which is not oriented to that. This is independent art house movies, but they have their important tasks. This sphere is forms a new things in movies. This is the driver which helps the movies to develop as a art. For example, let's take Lars von Trier's initiative with many things invented in their movies. They came there from authors, independent movies, and it came into the Hollywood, many of the Hollywood projects. This is the format of filming and many others. And nowadays it is very widespread among big studios. We played these movies in 1998 with great success. A lot of people attended the showing of these movies, and it was very successful. Nowadays, it's impossible to repeat this success. So, the main objective of a producer is to gain benefit, gain income. What does it mean? It means that the producer should find a project which would be interesting for the audience. If in parallel with production, then I would say that production of movies is very similar to production of big yachts. The only difference is that the big yachts are always produced for a certain client. There is a prepaying, and everyone understands where this ship goes. The movie is produced for the audience only with the hope that it would be popular with the population, and that this shape of movies would not sink, and only so the objective of artificial intelligence is, or task of artificial intelligence is to find such projects, because it can process big data, it can understand the preferences of the audience, and this is the most important for the producer and its assistants, to understand the preferences of the audience. It's very important, but for us as people, it might be a bit offensive, because we believe that each of us, we are unique, and probably it is so, but still, there is one program like that. It is created by Belgian scientists, but it's not used in Hollywood yet. The 22 films which failed in during the release only confirms that it is possible to understand the producers and directors when they complain that they will not be needed in case artificial intelligence selects projects instead of them. So it means that there is no need in the work of these people. Then it means farewell to Dolce Vita and Good Life and all this and all this stuff. Thus, that's all about economic aspects. And we'll get to the third aspect, probably the most important one. This is this field of application of artificial intelligence. This is a creative field. Movies are an art. It makes us think about important things of our life: love and betray, trust, hope and happiness, and many other things. Movies try to give us answers to the questions which we put before ourselves. This is a very important part of cinematography. So, cinematography helps us to overcome our existential loneliness in our life. This is a very important function of movies, which you cannot take away from them, otherwise it will turn into something different. Dramaturgy, good screenplay, if it is bad, then there is no talented director who could make a good movie. So the question, if artificial intelligence can write screenplays, probably it will be able to make these films. But the question is if we would want to watch these movies, because these movies would be a kind of ideal films where all our preferences, our wishes, compromises will be taken into account. Just imagine you come to a perfect drama where everyone would cry. A young girl and a brutal guy, or even pensioners sitting in the back rows. So it will be very difficult for people to stand the pictures which are shown on TV, or a horror film to which you cannot come into the cinema theater without tissues. It's the same about artificial intelligence in terms of direction. Can it substitute a human director, human being, or will it be able to be an independent player on the cinema market? It all depends on how the humankind will change. Probably we would want to watch an ideal film. Probably today it's important, but sometimes we need bad movies. Sometimes we want to come back home after watching a film and want to be unsatisfied with the movie, want to express our dissatisfaction. Probably in the future people will find other priorities. But the most important thing is that I believe that artificial intelligence should always be controlled by human beings, that there will not be such a cinematography judgment day when the Skynet will get out of control and start making films a la Comedy Club and will destroy all the humankind and leave only a few people who like art house. And these people saved will send a person into the past when the Lumière brothers will be explained that they should have done something different. Do you mean to say that the cinematography will not be born? Okay, I understand that you ask me to round up. I will show you some parts of the movies. This is an example from my student. He made it together with Samsung. I made it very short, considering our short time. I put there some subtitles. So this is just an example from my student. Please watch it.
Hello, so who is the director here? Oh, I see. So, okay. Good day. Are you going to be here today? Artificial intelligence Gerard 360. Is it a kind of a joke? Just play. Okay. We cannot start. If you should somehow change your face, because we don't see you. You do not suit the parameters. And how can I suit these parameters? And how this can be shown in percentage? Well, I didn't begin. Okay, let's start. The director doesn't believe that your character is so lonely. But how this artificial intelligence can know about loneliness? Oh, I see. Let him tell me precisely what I need to play. So you need just to raise your eyebrow and then to multiply 360 12 to 12. So let's come back to initial parameters. So can I start? Try to be. So you are too relaxed. Now you are. You need to move your eyes in a different way. Your face expression is wrong. So what do you mean? This cinema. This is not physics. This is not mathematics. This is a kind of a chemistry. A character must live. And you must feel. And I don't really care how many books you've read and what movies you watched, because if nothing happened inside of your psyche. Okay, that was perfect. So with the same emotions, but follow the text. So how did they manage to work with real people earlier? Okay, we will complement the picture. We will make it ourselves. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much. That was interesting to listen to, and I really hope that this irony will be just irony, and in reality we will not leave this, and we will not see this in reality, because it seems to me, well, I'm a lawyer, and legal world is closer to me, but I believe that the role of person should not be underestimated, and if we come to the artificial intelligence and this model completely, then probably we will not stay the same. Probably artificial intelligence should act as a kind of an assistant, and the analysis it can provide, for example, in terms of consumers' preferences. And artificial intelligence is doing this right now. Of course, we cannot avoid this, because right now we are very much dependent on these technologies, but still in cinema and in creativity, this is not the main part. Artificial intelligence and creativity, this is a kind of a perfect tool, a perfect assistant, a perfect tool which we can use, a master, a director, an artist, which can be used by these people to create his unique work. And this is probably true about all creative institutions and for all professions. And this is true also about cinema. Probably this is not so applicable for documentary, because in this case artificial intelligence can be really used more widely, but at the same time we can show the same way from different perspectives, and we can and the results may be completely different. They may be perfect and they may completely fail. So to understand this, we need a human perspective, because it all depends on a human perspective, and only a man can create a masterpiece. And we see this in our history. So, for example, we sometimes watch some masterpieces, and sometimes it's not clear how this work becomes a masterpiece. For example, so developing this theme, artificial intelligence, and we say that artificial intelligence can be very different. One of the most used and one of the most famous, this is probably the sphere of fashion. And I would like to introduce our next participant, Galina Kravchenko, and she represents a fashion consultant group, and she will share the place of the artificial intelligence in the sphere of fashion. So we would like to understand how to use artificial intelligence in the sphere of fashion, and are we under the threat of losing our identity in this sphere? Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you a little bit, but in fashion industry, money is really important, and it used to be an art. And so when we are talking about fashion tech, and this is like a consultant practice. This is like activity. We provide services in operational activity, and sometimes we need to solve very specific problems, and so to be very concrete. And in terms of the existing technologies and technologies which are connected with artificial intelligence, well, it is true that fashion industry, even in our country, well, of course it attracts much attention. We often participate in many platforms, and we help to different companies to choose the most prospective trend, the most perspective field where they can invest their money, to which they can invest their money. If to speak about our constant practice, but for providing consultations, we also educate, and this helps us because it contributes to the way how we organize our educational activity, and it is very useful for our students who would like to enter this industry, and we prepare certain materials for our students. And I would like to show you a presentation. This is a part of the presentation which we prepare for different investment projects, and fashion industry is very organic in our today's digital revolution, and all the technologies which are connected with big data and virtual reality and augmented reality and different RFID tags. The same methods can be applied in our fashion industry, and I will tell you about 4 major usages where artificial intelligence can be applied. So I would like to say that the quote which you can see here, it shows the correlation how human intelligence and artificial intelligence they correspond, and these relationship they can be compared to the relationship between the first and the second pilots. And in fashion industry, information processing is not possible without its interpretation, and for this we need experts. And these spheres, the skills of fashion the skills of our fashion experts, they continue to develop. If to speak about the clothes, well, of course, we need to mention platform TrueFit, because it analyzes the inquiries from the users, and it helps to make the choice much easier for the consumers. And at the same way, it shows to the consumer how the clothes will look if you wear it. So it's a well-known initiative from Amazon. When a product will be created only after you order it. And of course, in this case, artificial intelligence is extremely important, because this computer system, it will consist of 3D printer and conveyor, and probably we will need even to implement cameras at different stages of the platform. Well, another method is a stitch fix. If you need, for example, to choose the category, and before to use this server, you need to fulfill an inquiry, and you are to give the references to the pages, to certain pages, and on this information, judging by this information, the service will make the choice and will collect the so-called boxes, which contain at least 5 things. And it is very successful. And it is among the most successful projects at Forbes, if to speak about different startups. And in spite of the fact that it consists of about 1,000 brands, at the same they suggest private labels, and about 20% from the total amount of purchases was included these private labels. So another platform is Yox. It's such you can have look through different pictures, and so it is very user-friendly, because for a consumer it is very convenient to look through the pictures, and you can check and you can try different types of clothes using this model. And EcoLook, this is a specially developed platform for a stylist, and it can provide you with certain recommendations. And this EcoLook will tell you if it corresponds to the most fashionable trends, and you can see yourself from different perspectives, and at the same time it stores these images in its memory, so he can correspond with the user. And probably the most unusual, and this is CarLinks, and they suggest a digital collection. This collection exists only in digital form, and of course you need to pay 10 or 30 euros, and then you are to send your photos, and then the designer will do everything himself, and you will see yourself wearing these clothes actually. And this is completely a new initiative and a new approach, because on one hand the company says that we want to stay eco-friendly and we do not want to pollute the environment, but at the same time this is the mainstream in fashion industry. But at the same time this CarLin is used, because quite often users buy these clothes just to make pictures and then return these clothes. And this is a problem. But this is what is in demand nowadays. If to speak about the products, then probably designer will use such pragmatic tools as, for example, the program Claw, which will let you see the ready-made clothes before it is sewn, and interface is very convenient. So once again, it is user-friendly, and you can print it. And you can see 2 pictures here. One of them, it is a ready-made detail, and the other one is a pattern. Then 3D brush. So this brush gives you more possibilities in terms of virtual reality, because a designer working with this tilt brush can create a new model and can change the colors. And this is very useful because quite often the mistakes we see in the result, because the color which was intended, in reality, it looks completely different, because quite often the fabrics are chosen, just very small pieces of fabrics, just to choose the color. And here you can see it in this authentic color, and it will be real. The color will be true. There will be no mistakes in this case. And I should say that this company cooperates with IBM, and we try to use such new technologies and new tools as big data. And of course, it assists our designers. It helps them not just to use their opinions and their imagination, but also so that they could use some very specific tools and very specific recommendations, because designers, they are very unusual people, because they have their own ways of understanding things. And quite often we face the situation when the designer who lives in his own world and illusionary world, and those people who produce these goods, they live in a different world. And of course, people who are involved in marketing, they think how to make it profitable. And sometimes these different people have problems in communication because of different interests and because of different skills. And in this case, artificial intelligence can help, because they can help us to focus on the details which need to be solved. Then I'd like to point to another program like 3D shoes. And well, it exists since 2013, and you can use these 3D shoes just to get a pair of shoes. And this program will scan the foot, and it is absolutely applicable just for creating perfect pair of shoes. Yes, it can be very convenient. And we can print not only just the shoes, but even a jacket. For example, Adidas uses this technology, and New Balance and Reebok also use the same technology and use 3D printing. But the most difficult thing, this is to create the whole robotic production. And we need some sort of flexible production, robotic production, because and we need the equipment which should be really applicable for this. But we have examples. For example, in Germany, they have special plants which actually function almost without people. But this is like an exception from the rule, because the rest of the plants which are located in Asia and in Mexico, of course, human labor is widely used, and of course the price for the goods is completely different. And still, for example, in Germany, they are going to change the whole system, and they are going to and once again, in retail sphere is not possible to imagine the sphere without artificial intelligence, because of course special tagging, for example, which are used in the clothes, and then the producer can track how the clothes is used, and then the user can show his preferences, and these input tags serve so that the producer could see how the shoes are used, and using this data, the producers can increase the quality, the level quality of their shoes. And the first aim of these tags, of course, just to respond to counterfeit, and because it is not possible to take away these tags. And one more thing, of course, this is virtual shops. And for example, such brand as Rebecca Mitkin works in this sphere. Or for example, Gap Store, which uses augmented reality just to understand and to see how the clothes look like in reality. And augmented reality is used in Uniqlo system, in Uniqlo shops. For example, you can try one jacket and you can understand how you will look like if you wear the same jacket of different color. And this system helps you, for example, to choose that garment which will complement to your image. And one more thing, this is a kind of a mirror for home use. And of course, artificial intelligence in fashion industry, it is widely used because fashion industry, it is based on the idea that to implement some product, you need to compare different data from different spheres. And it has always been done, but it has been done following some sort of intuition. But fashion, this is not the story about yesterday. Big data is aiming at analysis of the data which was in the past. And fashion, this is about dreaming. And it's not possible to develop this sphere without dreams. And we must understand that emotion, this is the driver which helps, which makes us, our consumers, to buy another pair of pants, though probably this consumer has already these pants in his wardrobe. And this emotion, it serves as a kind of a driver. And I think that this is a typical feature of natural people, not an artificial intelligence, but probably it will change.
Thank you very much. After listening to that, you start being suspicious about our intelligence if we are losing it. What are we doing at the moment when we let ourselves to fill 1,300 questions in a questionnaire to let the artificial intelligence to decide for us? Then we understand how much we provide data to the artificial intelligence and how much we enrich it with the knowledge about us. Speaking about the artificial intelligence nowadays, if it exists today and how powerful it is, the futurologists forecast by 2022 that the artificial intelligence will be recognizing the national model of a human being. So we have our little time ahead, and we are doing that with our own hands. Tomorrow at the session on big data, we will speak more in detail how this big data is collected and where it goes to. But I should say that the number of data, the amount of data in the world is increasing every year. And we should say that in the last 2 years, the data has been multiplied many times. In the 10,000 years, we formed only 10% of data, and in the last years, 90% of that. And speaking about artificial intelligence, we should understand, we must understand how can we, what can we do with the consequences of that teaching. Today, artificial intelligence creating art. It writes music, draw pictures or paint pictures, make films, bad films yet, but still it is making it. And as far I am a lawyer here, I am an advisor to the lawyer agency, and we as lawyers think of two things: what to do and who is guilty. But some of us also think about who has the right or who is entitled to do some things. And we should think if the artificial intelligence is entitled to do something, and has it some rights to what has been done by it. The discussion about that has been held for several years in our community. I believe that love and creative work should be protected only done by human beings. So I would like to invite to our discussion a representative lawyer from Baker McKenzie, Vladimir Perevalov. So what do you think about this? Yelena, thank you. I liked it that many representatives of creative community noted that the most important in this industry is not a creative approach, but the money which the creative industry gains. I will be speaking about mass market. I will speak about products, what is on the market. Let's take two creators. One hired 10 designers who make t-shirts. The other one hired 10 programmers. Why those who make programs have less rights than those producing t-shirts? There are a lot of things where application of artificial intelligence for creation something which used to be done by human beings is getting more and more popular. We've been talking about the clothes design, and we saw that this role probably is not that big nowadays. But there wasn't an attempt by Yox to launch the design created by artificial intelligence. Besides that, I should mention makeup design. This is a new trend. The news about this was about a month ago. Days Beauty from England uses artificial intelligence for creating original makeup designs and then commercialize them in fashion industry. The design of rooms, let's leave aside, about music. Speaking about people, we understand that the copyright protects people. In this market, the first artificial author was Amper, but in last 2 years, the number of artificial intelligence composers has increased significantly. They write music, they make background music. It is sold in iTunes, sometimes very successfully. Some people like it, some people buy it. Does it mean that everyone can multiply those tracks only basing on the fact that it was not written by a human being? I don't believe so. Another example, if we use artificial intelligence for creation of spices. When we go to the supermarket, we can see Camas spices. So they have a head office which uses artificial intelligence to create a new taste of spices. Usually it takes about half a year to make it. Using artificial intelligence, they make new recipes, economizing on time at about 2/3. So sometimes the taste can be very unusual and innovative, let's call it this way. It is legally protected. So if they are legally protected, and if yes, then who is the right holder? These are the two questions I would like to have answers to. And from the point of view of our legislation, the authors of literary works or scientific works is a person by whom it has been made. There are some problems in the word citizen, the problem in the word by creative work. And I will agree with Elena if we say that computer was suffering when creating something, so we cannot do that. But there is no creative work, so this formulation does not meet our reality. Let's compare. UK Copyright Design and Patent Act in 1988 The author of a computer work made with the assistance of computer is a person who made necessary preparation actions. So it means the programmer who made this. Technologically, this is neutral legislation. But it was in 1988, and they looked forward from those times. And they meant to say that they didn't want to infringe upon the rights of those who participated in creation of this work. Who has the rights? If we imagine that our civil code would have another formulation, we will have a problem. Because there are a lot of people who work in this field. There are those who wrote algorithm. There are those who finally used this algorithm for his or her own purposes. There are some at whose servers it could be used. Probably these are cloud platform of artificial intelligence. So if there is something precious, they will claim their rights. And there is a person who trained the artificial intelligence. So if you have two algorithms and train them in the same way, the result will be absolutely different. This is not a hypothetical situation which might happen in the future. Not so long ago, at the Christie's auction, a picture created by artificial intelligence was sold. Initially, it was believed to be sold for $710,000, but it was sold for more than $400,000. The most interesting here is that algorithm and training process was made by not those people who sold this picture at Christie's. The person who trained this artificial intelligence did not get any cent from this sale, at least he says so. And here we have a problem. Who is the author? Who is the right holder? Who could claim the money from this sale? This is not a free problem of the future. This is a nowadays problem. So what can we do about that? So if in our legislation there were some criteria of definition of the author and right holder of a artwork created by with the participation of artificial intelligence, and if we would look at how the law regulates the right owners of phonograms and some databases. So ultimately it would look like this. The author of an artwork is a citizen, creative labor of whose it is created, or a person who made necessary actions for automated creation of the artwork with the help of artificial intelligence. So shall we invest into programmers, or shall we find a nominal author, just to say that this person was next to the artificial intelligence and he has something to do with its creation, and then his rights should be protected? Thank you.
You know, when you were talking about this possible future regulation, well, one thought came to my mind, because that we are repeating the same things again, because ancient Greeks once thought about who created this Galatea, who, for example, made her talk or made her alive, or who created her in the very beginning initially. So we are on the same threshold. We are looking for the same right holders. When I was a child, once I read a question, the same question as the same example, and in the fairy tale there was another opinion. So the person who made her talk, and today talking about the copyright authors, I think that the people who train artificial intelligence, who create the possibilities how the artificial intelligence will work, I think that they are the right holders, because I believe that this is their role, their major role, due to which artificial intelligence became possible. So, yes, please, your question. My name is Alexei, and I'm a student of Baltic Federal University, and I'm the second-year student, and probably I don't understand much in this, but I think that it would be useful in the sphere of art to take the same principle we use in IT sphere. These IT spheres, they provide just a usual user the results of their research and development, and they give users necessary apps. So they give the users the tools, and they sell these tools. And so the rights for these artificial intelligence, they possess the rights for this artificial intelligence. But as soon as the user wants to use it, he signs an agreement, and which limits, according to which he has to pay some his money. So when, for example, he will get some profit, and then he will have to share this profit to the initial right holders. Yes, I understand your question, but I believe that this question is a little bit from a different sphere. Whether to consider this IBM program, in which sphere, how to treat this, and I believe this is. These cannot be referred to artificial intelligence and the rights of the authors in this sphere. It is a very specific topic, and I think that the main idea of our topic, that the elements of artificial intelligence, they are created absolutely by different participants, and they are sold in different ways, and in the result we have different results. So we can speak about distribution of profits, and we need there is a kind of a need for special regulation of these different issues. And as for the consequences of our interaction, I mean humans' interaction with the artificial intelligence, I think that this question is very acute nowadays in the world, and we are coming closer and closer that this issue must be regulated, probably for the first time in history, first of all at the level of the world, and then at the level of every particular country, because we cannot face and solve this question independently, and this is enough. So we need to treat this issue globally if we want to provide some good instruments for protection our rights in this sphere. And European Union, they have some experience. Major companies, they worked out the charter regulating the ways how we interact with artificial intelligence, and so we are on the threshold of the same agreements. And I would really like Evgenia Konovalova, she's the founder of A1 service, shared her experience and tell us how these institutions are regulated in CIS. Well, A1, this is a big conference, and I would like to start. A1, this is a conference which was organized in December. I decided to organize the first conference devoted to artificial intelligence, and this conference was devoted to, was intended for people from the sphere of artificial intelligence, and the people so that the people could show how artificial intelligence can be used in different spheres of industry. And a lot of representatives completely from different branches, they told us how these artificial intelligence could be used in their spheres, and scholars and scientists, they told us how and the ways how artificial intelligence can be integrated into science. Well, what I'm doing, usually I unite people. And that conference, A1, this is also a kind of this is a way how to unite people. So event, this is the major, to create this event, this is the major point. Probably some of you participated in our yesterday's meetings, and then probably you know what hackathon means. Hackathon, this is a kind of a contest for programmers, in the result of which we get certain number of prototypes. For example, on Friday in the evening, people come, data scientists and representatives of different scientists, and in the evening they present their projects. And they present their R&D products, and then the representatives of business can choose one of these products and implement this product in their business. I want artificial intelligence become cheap, and so that it could be easily implemented into business. And I think that this must be, this should be global, because it concerns all the people, and it could help the problem of cheap labor. For example, just try to think of a number of people involved in performing the job, which can be absolutely performed by robots. And the same, for example, cashier operators. He could work in a different sphere, in creative sphere. And probably if to integrate artificial intelligence into business processes of different industries, then we can help to get the money, and probably this money could be used for different, for other purposes. Of course, this is very futuristic look, but in the closest perspective, well, in any case, today we are to treat artificial intelligence just like a program, because this program helps us from a big data to create a certain structure from this big data. And in recent years, recent years, we have different tools to create these structures. For example, in the sphere of cinema industry, I think that I would ask you a question. Did you try to integrate artificial intelligence not from the point of marketing, but once again from the point of view artificial intelligence? This is very cheap, and this can be done very quickly. So if you provide the data, then data scientists will find some clusters inside of these data, and probably these data scientists, they will find some repetitions, unnecessary copying, and they will show how this can be avoided. So this is the sphere how artificial intelligence can be used. So as for hackathons, what we've done during these hackathons, for example, Gazprom Neft, this is if this company wants to know if people buy, for example, 5 different things at their retailer shops, and they want to know what consumers buy in addition in these retailer stores. So this is a kind of a way to find the consumer's needs. And we presented this task at Hackathon, and programs took this algorithm, and they created this algorithm helped to foresee this 5th purchase, for example. And if this model helps to understand what else a customer will probably buy, then probably it will be useful for different companies. Though we didn't check it, but still I think that this is very prospective. The whole idea is very prospective. So that's how it works. And then I will tell you that artificial intelligence, probably you understand and perceive it in your own particular way, like a robot or somehow else. But we have an architecture like deep learning. And the second layer, it will be like face recognition and voice recognitions. These are examples how artificial intelligence can be used. If, for example, if you want to analyze the voice or to analyze the pictures, and every country has its advantages. And in Russia, for example, we have very good mathematics, and we have the sphere of machine learning is really developed in our country, and we are very good at analyzing different pictures. And as for voice recognition, it requires different skills, and in Russia it is not really so developed as, for example, the system of recognizing the pictures. So I think that there are a lot of ways how artificial intelligence is used in our country. For example, when these cameras make pictures and make photos of, for example, car numbers, and it can facilitate a number of processes. Now I will come to next question: in which industry it is better to apply artificial intelligence? And according to the world experience, just try to guess which industry is really popular for usage of artificial intelligence. Yes, this is medicine, and this is amazing that artificial intelligence penetrates to to the sphere of healthcare, and this is a real breakthrough, because it's evident that a man he provides a significant amount of data into the space, and we evolve so quickly. For example, to foresee where possible mutation could happen, this is just the way how this is just one of the cases where artificial intelligence could be used. I'm involved in the research, and within the frameworks of this research, we see that how, for example, if you just type in the words artificial intelligence, you will see that the output will be amazing, and you will see, and it proves how artificial intelligence is popular in this. So, but this is not only healthcare. This is it can be easily applied in other different spheres, and these are of course, like agriculture. And I could also give the examples. For example, in Kazakhstan, agriculture, this is the sphere where people invest money, and people who live there, they would like to see projects in which artificial intelligence is used in the sphere of agriculture. And we have a lot of such projects, for example, in Belarus, and probably we should make them somehow cooperate and share their experience. And that was the purpose of my conference, just to make these people meet and share their experience.
Thank you very much. The conference, as today's, helps to work out a unified approaches. Sometimes these approaches are based on some caution, sometimes on cooperation, but all the countries of the world have the same vision, that we need a unified information space which would enable us to find everything new, to attribute this everything new, and in the duration, of course, to transfer these new things for commercial purposes. One of the most difficult spheres is the patent field. You understand that the patent window is getting more narrow nowadays. The level of creation or invention in the past was wider. Nowadays, the level of invention is in microns of difference. When we make patent search nowadays, we need to rely more and more upon some objective data, and today the invention level is not an expert opinion about the invention, but the analysis of the data proposed. There are elements of artificial intelligence which enable us to make patent search. I would like to ask Alexander Radakov, Director of PSS Corporation, to speak about their projects which enable us to make patent search. The point is that we wanted to do something more. This is not the patent search. This is creation of these are inventions. We had this idea when we had a training for our employees, and this training was done by Yuri Dvardovich from St. Petersburg, and he trained the people or staff from Samsung and Hyundai company. And then I had an idea. Probably we should make some application based on computer programs. And I thought, okay, if we do this, let's use the system of artificial intelligence with learning neural networks. And in 2017, we started slowly moving forward. The solution was found not long ago. We made an application to FIPS, and now we are waiting for a reply. And we mentioned the authors of the program, of artificial intelligence. We don't know what they will answer. I mentioned this because I don't think that the machine is not a subject of law. It has already been mentioned who is to be considered like this. Okay, the second thing, if there is some creative input or from a machine, it's a different thing. Okay, if it is submitted, if it is registered, and we have a hypothesis. Who should be the author? We refuse artificial intelligence to have subjectivity in this case. In the United States, there were registered cases when artificial intelligence, the author of technical inventions, was taken as a subject. In the US, they have strange legislation. There are some strange and funny clauses. We all know that. Still, in the court, there were no precedents. Let's look at Japan now. In Japan, in their strategic development program for artificial intelligence, it is planned to develop this legislation, and it presumes to let the artificial intelligence be the subject of the legislation. In 2015, they have a very specific attitude to robots. They made androids, and they have the Burnaco theater. They are very human-like, and the Japanese like them. But let's look at the spiritual aspect of this. Before 1945 in Japan, Santheism was their state religion, and they believed that some kind of soul is in everything. And if the artificial intelligence will be someday recognized, it will be in Japan. So we propose the Centaur system. If a machine cannot be the subject of the law, but a human being, the machine does only about 60% of work, but still a human being participates in some way. But probably in the future, the human being will not participate in this work at all. And we suggest a patch system, so to say. This is a very strange proposal of our team. Machine-human complex. This is the Russian abbreviation for this. We may raise a question if a machine has a creative approach. It was trained by some program code which was made by a human being. It is learned by the material offered by human beings. So a human being in the first years of his life also gets some knowledge from the parents, I mean to say, why do the Japanese do this? And we should follow up them, so we should not lag behind them. Yes, my opinion was that was the first case in the history when the international law should be ahead of the national law, that we would all move in the same direction. If we a bit update our computer, we can submit more than 90,000 applications in a year. So this is a kind of mining of intellectual property. If there is a depreciation of human activities, we try to make a complex between a machine and a human being. When our Thank you very much. That was very interesting. I would like to ask Matthew. Matthew, I'm not sure if I pronounced your last name correctly. Could you please share American experience with us? Because as far as I understand, you deal with machine research, patents. So how it is in the United States?
Which I'm sure you can all tell. So I will just speak English, of course. And I realize that I'm perhaps standing between you and dinner or you and a concert, so I will try to be brief, because that's never a good position. Oh, I'm sorry. Should I repeat what I said? No. Okay. My name's Matthew Yaspin, and I'm a U.S. attorney. I focus on patent and trademark prosecution. And yes, thank you, Elena. In the U.S., like you said, Alexander, we do have some very strange laws, some very funny laws. And right now, it has not been tested whether AIs can be inventors. But I could see U.S. law coming down on the side of, yes, they can, either with an act of Congress, sometimes it seems unlikely, but it's possible, or a judicial decision, or even the patent office issuing guidance, until that gets overturned by Congress or the courts. But it's also possible that there could be a backlash, and some academics, for instance, think that AIs should be defined, or inventions made by artificial intelligences should be defined in a way that they are not patentable, not ever patentable. Personally, I don't think that makes sense. I think there's a lot of work and a lot of creative effort that goes into creating an AI, and the products of an AI should be patentable, whether credit is given to the AI as well as to the people who initially programmed it. Other people will have to decide. What was I? It's in some ways an interesting contrast with copyright in the U.S. because the United States Copyright Office, which is separate from the Patent and Trademark Office, has declared that they will not register any copyright that for a work that was made by a non-human animal. So I'm sure you've all heard of the monkey selfie, and you remember that. But there are other animals that make art as well. There are dolphins and there are elephants that paint or sculpt. And the Copyright Office refuses to register anything made by an animal that's not a person. And if the Patent Office followed that, the analogous decision would be, well, we're not going to have an AI be recognized as an inventor, and nothing an AI creates could be patentable. But they don't have to. They could reach a different conclusion. Conceivably, they could reach a different conclusion with regard to inventions by monkeys or elephants as well. But again, that has not yet been tested. And if I may, one other remark on the trademark side, there's a lot of interest in AIs being used in the future in trademark clearance and trademark prosecution, which would be by attorneys or search firms or by a trademark office in assessing whether something could or should be used as a mark or is registrable as a mark. But it's also possible that the way people are using and are likely to use AIs in the future, which was discussed on the panel as well, could infringe or weaken trademark rights. There was one case where a cosmetics company was suing Amazon UK and Amazon EU for not displaying trademark registration symbols in an AdWords ad, and then the AI, Amazon's AI product recommendation engine, was making product recommendations off of that AdWord. Amazon was held not liable, which I think is good news for anybody who wants to use an AI in business, because if your AI can make you liable for a trademark infringement, secondary infringement, it puts a real damper on the use of AI at all. One other consideration with trademarks and AIs is that as people increasingly shop using things like Alexa and Google Home, it's possible that they'll weaken existing trademark rights, because trademark rights only exist to the extent that people recognize the brand, whatever it is, the name, the logo, the slogan, a sound or a movie, to the extent that they recognize it as being associated with the source of services or goods. And if people use these smart home products or Internet of Things products to order goods, it's possible that they start doing it and make marks generic or push them towards becoming generic, the way that happened to Zipper and Escalator, which used to be marks. If you like a certain breakfast cereal and you say, Alexa, order me some Cheerios, but Alexa knows actually you like to save a few dollars on your breakfast cereal, and it orders you off-brand Cheerios, it's possible that if enough people do that, the word Cheerios could cease to be as defensible as a trademark and move towards becoming a generic term, which can't be used. And I think trademark owners will have to be leery of that and watch for people's purchasing behavior, especially in interactions with artificial intelligences.
Огромное спасибо. Знаете, я хотела
Thank you very much, Matthew. I would like you to be the jury. What do you think about the right of the artificial intelligence to get some protection in the Russian legislation or international legislation and the prospects we have in this area? So I was very much pleased that our colleagues from the United States share our suspicion about this. I would like to apply to your constitution. You remember that artificial intelligence is the right by Congress to provide temporary monopoly for promoting sciences and arts. So this is the point. If we are speaking about teleology, we have to understand whom we want to stimulate. So this stimulation should be thoroughly thought through. If we entitle people to do so, then we have to understand if the person who is entitled with this right really needs this right. When we speak about the monkeys who doesn't need any rights for a picture, we understand that either you give this right or not give this right, the monkey will not make better photos, because to a great extent what it did is it's just a simple process. The same we can say about the CCTV. The camera doesn't have any rights just because it shows the whole. So when we speak about giving the right to programmers or some other people, we have a question of the result. What do we want to get from this regulation? And to what extent we are sure that it will be achieved, but not will be capitalized and used for absolutely different purposes. I should remind you that the copyright which exists nowadays is not very much convenient for the author, because it gives him only the right to sell and then to sleep, as if after paying loss. So if we give this right to a program, with the probability of 99%, this right will be capitalized by Google, say, or Yandex. So we don't need that. What is the copyright or any kind of intellectual right? This is a minefield. You're working with your creativity, creative approaches and free information, whatever. So if you mine this field very actively, so you put too many mine traps, then it would be very difficult to walk around this field. So when you speak about the system of which will be taken by Ross patent, I'm ready to applaud you for them to stop doing the silly things they do, because they have a lot of IP lawyers work on protecting these minefields. They do not protect rights. For example, I am destroying the minefields too much saturated with intellectual activities. We wanted to say a few words about big data, but okay, let's do that tomorrow. So come to us tomorrow. We will have quite an interesting conference. I have a lot to say. My job is to destroy those lost rights, so to say, which prevent us from living in a usual economic way, or make some activities which are not forbidden by the law. But as far as the copyright is a very wide notion, and the ways of application of these rights is quite vague, we are in the uncertainty zone, so to say, because copyright is a right to give license to a certain kind of activities of an unlimited number of people. So this is a dangerous story when you start thinking about all the things we've just been talking about different rights or patents. We should remember that your creativity will disappear very soon. When you have to meet a lot of requirements, legal requirements, you will have not enough patents to go further. So let's continue on a...
So today we've witnessed a lot of different types, ways how artificial intelligence can be used, and probably a lot of people do not just do not understand that these fields can be applied, and probably we should be a little bit cautious, more cautious, because our actions, they shouldn't be harmful, and we need to implement, to work out certain regulatory acts like a charter of the rights, because artificial intelligence, first of all, it shouldn't be implemented or created to harm the humanity. And I do hope that no matter in which spheres, but I hope that artificial intelligence will be applied and will be used to help humanity. We must not lose ourselves. It doesn't matter where we are. So we are for artificial intelligence, but only in those spheres where it can be useful, and we support freedom of creative imagination. We shouldn't forget that, first of all, we are to provide comfortable conditions for the development of humanity. So let me finish at this point, and I'll be happy to see you tomorrow at our session devoted to big data. And this session will show what we create. And thank you very much. And I would like just to tell in the conclusion that artificial intelligence one day will ruin humanity.
I'd be happy to.